Going on, everybody? This is Bobby G back again with another Saturday Shpiel. Obviously, as you can probably tell by the lights on, that the sun is going down, or almost all the way down. It's kind of twilight outside. Um, this week, we're going to continue in our portions, or Torah portions, or parasha, which in the case of Messianic means that there's 3 readings instead of 2. The passages this week are from Genesis chapter 18 verse 1 to chapter 22 verse 24. That includes God appearing to Abraham, Sodom and Gomorrah, the promise of Isaac, the sacrifice of the ram in the place of Isaac, and so on. From the what's known as the Chetuvim, or the writings, or the Nevi'im, also known as the prophets, you have 2 Kings chapter 4 verses 1 through 37. And then for the New Testament reading, or the Brit Chadashah reading, we have Luke chapter 1 verses 26 through 38, chapter 17 verses 28 through 37, and chapter 24 verses 36 through 53. They kind of bookend each other, the beginning, the middle, and the end of Luke. And the passage this week, known in Hebrew, is known as Vayera. Vayera means it appeared, and there appeared, depending on which translation you have. Well, what appeared? Well, we have God appearing to Abraham, giving the promise of a son, this son namely being Isaac, and then Hagar and Ishmael were sent off. You also have the appearance of God's judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah as well, and the mercy that God has on Lot and his family, although his wife ended up turning into a pillar of salt because she looked back. In 2 Kings, you have the prophet Elisha, and you have many things going on, among which is the Shunammite woman, who is also promised a son during this time that Elisha spoke, because her and her husband both showed him hospitality. And the son was also brought back to life when it sounds out that the son had died all of a sudden. You also have the promise of blessing to Mary after Elizabeth, the wife of Zechariah, or Elisheva, as she would be known in Hebrew, is Zachariahu. Both get the promise of a son. You have the angel Gabriel appearing to Mary, or Miriam, as her name would have been at that time. And you also have the talking of the end times in chapter 17, and you also have the resurrection and the ascension in chapter 24. Now, again, you see 3 things appearing. You see new life, with the case of Isaac, with the Shunammite woman's son, and with the births of John the Baptist and Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah. You also have the appearance of mercy in the case of those who are saved under Yeshua, and in the Old Testament, the mercy on the Shunammite woman and on the mercy of Israel, for those who have not bowed the knee to Baal. And in the Old Testament, you have the mercy of God on Abraham's family. But you also have the appearance of judgment. Judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, and as well as Jesus talking about the coming judgment when the Son of Man returns. And when they ask him where it's going to be, they said to them, where the body is, there the vultures will be gathered together. Or where the corpse is, there the vultures will be gathered together. And then you also have his blessing upon the disciples before his ascension. One of 3 things we can take out of this. If we are in the Lord, we see new life, and perhaps with that new life we see blessing. However, those are for those who choose to follow God and choose to walk after God. Those who do not, such as Sodom and Gomorrah, which were so bad, to the point where when Lot gave hospitality to the angels, the men of the city of Sodom tried to how shall I put this? It says in the scriptures that they said, the men who came to your house, bring them out that we may know them carnally. The remains of certain ancient cities showed a lot of really bad behavior and judgment as a result, not because that was something that was wanted, because Abraham pleaded for Sodom and Gomorrah, especially because his nephew Lot was there with his family, and asked God, will you judge the righteous along with the wicked? Should not the judge of all the earth do right? Should not the judge of all the earth do justly? And God does do justly. And like the persistent widow kept going after the unjust judge in Jesus' parable, you have Abraham, who is the friend of God, continuing to speak to the God humbly as a servant, because he continues to say, let not my Lord be angry, which he's acknowledging God as God's rightful place, as sovereign and as Lord of his life. So the question that I often have thinking, especially with what's going on, is the question that Rabbi Jonathan Kahn often gets asked in the Messianic community. Where are we headed as a country? Or where are we headed as a planet, for that matter? Are we headed toward revival? Are we headed towards blessing and new life? Or are we headed towards judgment? He's often said, Rabbi Kahn has, that sometimes it can be both. Where we are headed now as a nation, I have no idea. Long ago, during this summer, I predicted that this election, when it came down to Trump versus Biden, back in the summer of 2020, when things were already crazy enough, I said to my family and I said to my friends that the results of this election are going to be in a way that nobody's going to see coming, and I stand by that. I stand by that prediction that I made. How things are going to go from here, I honestly don't know. What I do know is that it would be wise for those of us who are of the faith, who call ourselves those who are Christians or Messianic Jews like myself, to continue to follow the Lord, to continue to seek Him out as Abraham did, to continue to trust God, that it may be accounted to us as righteousness, as it was accounted to Abraham, who was God's friend. Honestly, I don't know where we go from here. I know I sound like a broken record, but there's good reason for it. We are in an unprecedented time where, while Christians and followers of the book are not necessarily being killed on the streets in this country, there is certainly a growing level, I would say, of hostility to people of faith like myself. And I will also argue that in many parts of the country and in many parts of the world, including Europe, there's a lot of hostility growing. Once again, a lot of anti-Semitism towards people like myself who are of Jewish descent, or in my case, of half-Jewish descent. So, at least if you're going by things traditionally. Now, what does that mean for the future? I honestly don't know. But again, I say, seek the Lord while He may be found. Call on Him while He is near, as it is written. From there, who knows where this will go. My name is Bobby G. This is my Saturday Shpiel. God willing, I will see all of you next week. Peace.